All right, so we have our setup, right? We have our screen created, our pen created, and our screen is set to the dimensions that we want. Just to make things look nice, I'm going to put the pen creation after the setup of the world. And then you can see here that we have a squiggly gray line, right? And what does the hover say? It says too many blank lines. So Python doesn't want 2 blank lines in the middle of your program. It wants at most 1 blank line at the middle of your program. Right? It can have 2 above function definitions and below function definitions. That's what it wants. But within the program, it does not want more than 1 blank line. See, squiggly gray, too many blank lines. Right? So let's make sure there's 1 there. Okay, and so what do we want to do now? What we want is I want to draw the grid lines on the screen. Okay, and so the way that we can do that is we can use the goTo method, right? So you do pen turtle.goTo, and you can go to a certain location, like 0, 0, right? And actually 0, 0 is not a good place to go to. Let's do 0, 50. Okay. And then from there, I'm going to say pen.goTo, and I'm going to go to the right side of the screen. So right now, the pen is at the left side of the bottom left corner of the screen, okay, and then I want them to go to the right side of the screen so that we could draw the first grid line. And to do that, I would need to go 1000 wide, right? So 1000 on the X, the right side of the screen, and stay the same on the Y at 50. All right, so if I go ahead and run that now, you can see that it draws that bottom grid line there. Okay, and so we could do this and then take the pen and take the turtle or the pen and move them back over here and then draw the next line, and then take the pen, move them over here, draw the next line, and so on as we move our way up, right, to draw our horizontal grid lines. But that would be kind of painful because I would have to like copy and paste this like a bunch of times, and then I would need to change the values of each of the arguments of goTo, and it wouldn't be fun for me as a programmer. Right? What would be fun is if I could do this all in a loop. Right? But if I go ahead and take all of these 2 commands here and I put them in a loop, like I say for I in range and I do 10, and I tab that in and I run it, right, you'll see that it just does it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Right? I don't want that to happen. I want the pen to move up every single time the for loop iterates. Right? So how can I make that happen? Well, what we want to do is we want to look at the arguments of the calls to goTo, and we want to ask ourselves, do any of them change? Right? Does this argument change? No, that argument doesn't change, right? The pen goes to the left side of the screen first, and then he goes to the right side of the screen, right? So this argument doesn't change. We go to the left side first. This argument here also shouldn't change because we want the second command to make the pen go to the right side of the screen. Okay. What about this argument here? The Y. The Y-axis should change. The Y-axis should increase. It should be 50 on the first iteration. Then it should be 100 on the next iteration. 150 on the next iteration. 200, 350, 250, 300, 350, right? So it should go up by 50. So this guy should change over time. And notice that this argument also should change, and it's actually the same value, right? If this goes up to 100 over here, then this one should go up to 100. Right? We don't want the lines to be crooked. We want the lines to be horizontal. So we want that argument and that argument to stay the same, right? But we both want them to change, but change in the same way. So we're going to create a variable for it, right? And that's what variable means, man, to vary. Right? It's a space that you can store data, but also that space can change over time. Right? Variable stands for vary. It can change over time. So I'm going to go ahead and create my counting variable out here. I'm going to call it ypos, and I'm going to set it equal to my starting y position, which is going to be 50. Okay. So now I'm going to go and take my ypos variable, and I'm going to put it here in as an argument. Right? And if I go ahead and run it, this is going to run exactly the same way that it ran before. Right? Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I don't want that to happen. Every iteration, I want the pen to go up, right? So after drawing the first line, I want the pen to go up. So how do I do that? Then I could say ypos is equal to ypos plus 50. All right, what does that mean? It means, okay, it's going to draw the first line at 50 on the y-axis. Then ypos is going to become ypos plus 50. And what is ypos? Ypos is 50, right? It starts out as 50. So it's going to be 50 plus 50. Ypos is equal to 100. The for loop iterates again, comes here, draws the next line at 100 on the y-axis. Then it does 100 plus 50, 150, ypos equals 150. Then it iterates again and draws the next line at 150 and so on. All right. This is what we call a counting variable. The Runestone talked about it as the accumulator variable. Right. In other programming languages, it's called the counting variable because it counts. Starts at a certain value and it counts by 50. Right. What's the formula for a counting variable? How do you make one? You create the variable outside of the loop, set it equal to its first value. Inside of the loop, you have it on both sides of the equal sign, and then you add or subtract however much you want to count by. If you want to count by 1, that should be a plus 1. If you want to count by 5s, that should be a plus 5. If you want to subtract 3 every iteration, this should be a minus 3 here. Right? So counting variable. Let's go ahead and run it now and see what happens. All right, so that looks good, kinda. Right? And so the bad part are the horizontal lines, right? And so I'm going to leave that as a challenge exercise because you already know about pen up and pen down, right? So you can make those lines go away. So I want you to add up pen ups and pen downs to the code that we have so that it only draws horizontal lines.